Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a man I'm just getting to know, and I hope you guys will join me. It is Failure. He is Failure. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, yeah, a little bit exhausted. I've been making the rounds all this week, and yeah,
Yeah, it's
a lot
it's
of talking.
kind of like something that's big in a certain segment of the internet happened, and you were directly involved. Um,
Yeah.
it just seems like that's a thing that that did that.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for it to fucking die down so I could go off into my normie commercial watching activities.
Yeah, there's it's fire and flames, and it is
hmm
of course when it happens, everybody wants to know the story, and so I appreciate you coming on here because I know you've been on a lot of shows. I know you've been talking about this endlessly, and I've
hmm
tried to keep up, but as you know, with the schedule, the broadcast schedule, it's hard to keep up with everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, again, thank you for doing this.
yeah, no problem. I actually am part of the reason that he even went on. Him being Tonka went on to your show the last week,
Yeah.
and
we
uh,
we can talk about
I
all of that.
yeah.
Let's Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. I had a little bit different plan. What I said to you and is that I'd like to get to know you a little bit, and I do. And I think one of the ways we can help make this a little different for our audience and for me, because I know my side of this whole story, but I think it'd be interesting if we went ahead and talked about kind of how um, you and I like first made contact and everything, and we can be very candid about all of that. So not that there's anything that I know of that would be like weird or anything that we would be nervous about talking about, but just kind of tell that story from everybody. Yeah, fix my collar. I know, guys. It hasn't been ironed because I just grabbed something. Um, 'Cause it was like 1,000 degrees in my house. But yeah, if we could just kind of tell that backstory, and then that'll actually kind of maybe help me understand your side of that story a little bit. And I don't know if there's much to tell on my side, but I'd be happy to do so. Does that sound good with you?
Yeah, well, my first interaction with you was actually because Andy Worski came on one of your streams, and somebody linked me it, and I heard things that were being said, and I disagreed with, being called things like a scam artist, and I wanted to defend myself. And to be fair, you left it up to your guest. Your guest didn't want to have anybody on, and you you made sure their wishes were followed. Unfortunately for Tonka, he maybe misspoke, and
Yeah, he was a little
the
less careful with his language, I think.
and oh boy, the gates opened up for him,
And
huh?
let me talk about that real quick. I've mentioned this. I think I don't know if I've mentioned it on stream, but I've mentioned it to a couple people in talking about this, especially down in Tennessee when people were asking me about it. Part of the reason that I actually had Andy come on, which was not my plan in the beginning at all. Actually,
Mhm.
several people, Andy and several others, asked me to come on right away, and I said, "Look, I'm not going to do that." But and I don't know if you got this feeling while watching it. Did you watch the thing live?
Uh,
That
the
interview
first time he came on,
with
yeah.
Tonka, with Tonka.
Oh, the Tonka one, yeah, I was watching.
Okay. I got the feeling during that interview that, and I mean, I played into this a little bit, but that
Mm.
Tonka thought that I knew less about the subject than I did. And it felt like he was trying to tell me a little bit of a story, kind of leave out some details. And I felt like I was being lied to for the better part of 2 hours. So that kind of influenced bringing Andy on to me. But
Mhm.
I don't know if other people got that feeling. Um, and yes, Kush, we're going to do a 1 minute recap of all this in just a second.
Well,
But
that's what he does. He does this thing where, like, just picture it where you're sitting down and he just puts his hand on your shoulder and it's like, let me tell you what actually happened, you know. And it's like, "Nah, I kind of know some of the facts, and yeah,
right, yeah, that's what I got, and I'm by no means an expert on the subject. Like I said, following even the drama this past week has been crazy. I mean, and this goes back months. So, um, yeah. So here's my end of that same story. Is back when there was an allegation that Tonka was involved in an allegedly photoshopped Snapchat conversation that made him look like a pedophile. Then um, he and I talked, and I asked if he wanted to come on my show and talk about it, and that's what the interview you're referring to was. And in that, of course, things were quite a bit different back then, and I think there was some allegation that you were like a willing party in all of this, or you were somehow wrapped up in it. And so, yeah, I do think he made some accusations of you on that show that probably were less than charitable, and
yeah,
probably wrong. Either
yeah.
because he was intentionally wrong or because he just didn't know. One of those two, and I have no idea.
The
Uh,
problem with that was just I didn't speak up for him as far as trying to defend him because it was two friends and I didn't want to get caught in the middle. But in not defending one friend when you have accusations like that being thrown out, you just end up becoming a really crappy friend.
yeah, it's
I'm trying to
tough,
watch the
but
language. I know you're a little bit.
oh, no, no, no. It's a meme at this point.
Yeah.
You're free to say
Uh,
whatever you want. I
mhm.
I don't use I don't use the devil's tongue. But no, you don't worry about any of that.
Yeah.
The only thing I tend to ask is if people don't use the words that YouTube hates.
Mhm.
That's all. And frankly, I don't care what people say ever. But that's a different topic. Okay, so yeah, being stuck between two friends, of course, is always uncomfortable. There's no good way to go about it, because you're gonna piss off one person or the other, especially when things heat up in the way they did. So I certainly don't envy the position you were stuck in there. Um, but okay, so let's see, where was I going with this? Yes, yes. So Andy comes on my show, says some things. We had a couple messages back and forth, and I do think, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think I
Mhm.
did say that at some point in the future, maybe we would have you on and you could kind of tell your side of the story. But then with the fight, like to me, at least on my end, everything seemed to kind of like, as the fight got scheduled and things got ramped up that way, all the Andy and Tonka kind of backed off for a little bit,
Mhm.
for a period there. And so you and I didn't really talk much during that period. But yeah, is that kind of what you remember too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went a while without talking to you, and then I talked to you. I think around probably what, late November, early October, December.
Yeah, I think so. And that was it about the $1,200?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think at that time, and forgive me, that's something I would have liked to cover a
Hmm.
lot more, but I was actually in Florida,
Hmm.
and
Oh,
um,
I'm sorry.
no, 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 don't apologize. I was doing shows
No,
where I
I'm
just
sorry that you were in Florida.
oh yeah, somehow I got out of there without my face getting eaten. Um, yeah, and I was down there with my family, and I could do streams, but like the research part of it and following the drama, I just wasn't able to keep up in any way
Hmm.
that would have done it justice. So that's why I didn't really cover it. And then we kind of went radio silent until I reached out to you on Twitter when the fight was
Hmm.
canceled. And I just said, "Hey,
Yeah.
if you've got a line to Tonka, can you help me get in touch with them?"
Yeah. As far as the money, by the way, that all started because Tonka went on air and said that Andy Worski did not pay me that money, and Andy Worski wanted him to say that he was wrong, that he misspoke, or yeah, that he was lying by saying that, or else he was going to charge it back. I was coming to you because I felt like that was fraud to go to PayPal and say, you know, uh, what he said. I think I sent it to you in the DMs, exactly the message that he sent to PayPal. But now, because of this, he pretty much, we talked it out and is getting settled.
Good, good. And you know, like let's see. I'm trying to actually scroll back through my DMs and see if I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, here are the tweets.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Andy. I could maybe, I don't like screen sharing DMs just in case something weird happens. So you guys will have to trust me. This is what Andy tweeted. I'm sure it's on his Twitter, I'm guessing. When Failure and Tonka were on my channel, we earned poop all. Bad Andy, naughty language. Some days we made $30 in total, and in total their share was probably around $200 combined. I gave Failure an extra $1,300 because Failure claimed Tonka owed him $10K and had not paid him, and he needed to pay bills. And then the other tweet was, "Hey, Vamp Candy, Failure hates you, Schmeckle TV, and Akujin. Tell your boy Tonka if by 12 a.m. Eastern time, he doesn't tell the truth that I paid Failure, I'm going to charge back the payment. TikTok, Mr. Injun." So, and then if you're unaware, following that, he did do the chargeback because Tonka didn't back down. Is that fraud? Very possibly. I don't know. I don't know the particulars of what he sent to PayPal and all of that stuff. I just have it's 1105.60, I think is the amount.
Yeah.
But
to that message that he did put out, I tweeted out that he did in fact pay me, but he wanted it directly from Tonka. That was the main thing. But like I said, all that has been squashed, and if it wasn't for Tonka opening his mouth, it wouldn't have caused any of these things to happen.
right, and that seems to be kind of a consistent problem for Tonka, is that his mouth is getting him to places where he maybe can't or shouldn't go. So let me burn through a couple of these super chats real quick, and then we'll really get into a recap of what's been going on since then, just like a 1 minute thing for people who aren't familiar, and then we'll kind of start. I'll let you help me figure out the theme tonight. Is we're gonna try and figure out how much civil and or criminal action Tonka is up against based on what's been released. Some of you will know this stuff, and if we're missing something in the chat, please feel free to let me know. You can do it by super chat if you want, but you don't have to. Like if you're correcting something or missing something, or we're missing something, just tag me in the chat, and I will go ahead and try and address it as we get going. But here's those super chats. Rick Nikita, this is right before the show starts, says, "Get the fireball. Not tonight. I'm saving this for a stream of punishment for me." And I'm not sure what it is, where we might try and get through this entire bottle and really just want to kill myself in the best way in Minecraft. Siren Jag says, "My God, Rackets, fix your collar." Yes, these collars, they crease really easily. I don't know what's up with that. Gojira5 says, "Lady Rackets, I don't know what an iron is, but if it's another word for stunning beauty, then it is you." Oh, that's nice. Tippio Tom says, "Are you drinking Fireball tonight?" No, I'm drinking. Lady Rackets was actually kind enough to let me borrow this for the stream. This is Glenlivet Nadura. This is a peated Glenlivet. It's, oh, hello camera. It's vicious. It's 60% alcohol, and we'll see how it goes. Gojira5 says, "Nick, is that pink shirt prison issue?" Yes, I was down in Arizona, Joe Arpaio's prison. So I'm from the prison, and it's salmon. Thank you. Andrew Gluck says, "Can't negate the Rekieta." And Schwann's Gruberman says, "Nick Rekieta, can I glass Tonka's father?" I can't endorse that activity at all. I have to advise you that what I assume you mean by glassing might be illegal, and I would highly suggest that you do not engage in illegal activity. Two more. Cormoran says, "Rackets, why were you rubbing Tonka's female dog tits and groping his crotchal region in that thumbnail? Well, because I think he's going through some tough times and he needed some love too. Keck7 Go says, Nick, nice salmon covered shirt. Trying to relive your days, getting into Lady Racket's heart. What are we drinking today? Also, Failure, what's up, buddy? Who's your favorite chaos god?
Man.
Do you know 40K lore at all?
No, I don't. But we've had some fans draw some awesome artwork. That's the sad thing. I miss the Kumite when people like used to draw fun stuff. Those days are gone now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say pick Nurgle then. Nurgle's the winner. And Amuse says, whiskey, you should try Midwinter Night's Dram. I'll look for it, buddy. I'll look for it. Okay. Here's the recap. 1 minute. Please just take 5 and iron your shirt. I can't. Here, I'm gonna stretch it. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. Here we go. Okay. Here's the recap. So Andy and Tonka used to have a show together. Failure was involved in that show as well. Was that the Morning Kumite?
The Morning Kumite was me and Tonka.
That's you and
Tonka.
Tonka.
At one point, Andy got involved for like a span of like 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So they're on this show, and then Andy leaves the show. Andy has a co-host named JF. You may know of JF. And if I understand correctly, and correct me on any of this, please, Tonka advised Andy to drop JF, and Andy followed that advice.
Andy was actually on the show of JF, but he would come on and guest on our show.
Sure.
And sometimes he would be on afterwards and, ask for advice. My advice to him was, if you're unhappy on the show that you're doing with JF, why don't you consider making like a little side channel so you could have like, a place where you can play some games, or do like a side stream on the, on your main channel that maybe doesn't have JF on it, but keep doing the thing with JF. Later on, he got to the point that he was sick of it and asked me, Geek Fulu, and Tonka if he should, leave JF, that he was considering it. And, one of the things that got Andy upset is that when he did split with JF, Tonka denied that he ever told him to split with JF.
Gotcha. So, and then things started to go kind of weird. Andy had some sort of thing. He left the internet for a while, and then he ended up coming back. Words were exchanged, long and short. And then there was some sort of plan that somebody was involved with that involved faking a screenshot of Snapchat from Andy to make it look like he was grooming a minor. And Tonka retweeted that. He said on my stream that he was joking. Whether or not he was joking, only Tonka can ever know. But it was a very serious sort of accusation. And, accusations of pedophilia, of course, are really, really awful when they're not true. And people should be very careful because careers can be ruined on it. Investigations can happen. All sorts of things can come about from that. So that really kicked off. That's what I kind of see as the zenith of the drama. And then Andy ended up accepting a fight challenge from Tonka. Now, was that fight challenge issued directly to Andy? Or was Tonka just generally throwing out a fight challenge and Andy decided to accept? I'm unclear on that part.
Andy's co-host Geek Fulu wanted to fight Tonka. Tonka said he would fight Geek Fulu if he could fight Andy first. At first, Andy refused that, and eventually he got tired enough of Tonka that he said, "Fine, I'll take the fight. I'll fight you."
Sure. And then once that fight was kind of accepted, a person named Tara LaRosa, who's she's a fighter, right?
Yeah,
she's
she's an MMA fighter. Yeah,
she's an MMA fighter. She contacted Valor, Fighting Challenge, and they put together the show that was supposed to happen just last week on the 19th. in
Hmm.
Kentucky, and not Kentucky, Knoxville, Tennessee, and then on the Monday before the fight, there was some issues with Tonka's blood work. The blood work didn't match the name that he signed on the contract back in November, and because of that, there was no fight. It couldn't happen. The commission said no. Valor couldn't put the fight together. So then everybody was pissed off, and of course that's when I asked to have Tonka on the show to explain his side.
Yeah.
Now, oh,
There
go
was
ahead.
also a thing with the contract signing where they wanted Tonka to make a video of himself signing the contract, and Tonka refused to do that. And, that upset a lot of people. And, special stipulations had to be put in place where, like, they would allow it to, just go in with him signing the contract only. And also, they wanted a picture of him for the poster. He refused to take a picture. So they compromised and let him use his avatar that he uses online.
Right, and that's um, can you clarify where the video of the signing came from? Did that request come from Andy, or did that come from Valor
That
initially?
came from Valor.
Yeah, because a lot of people are kind of dumping on Valor for not validating Tonka's identity first. But I think that was what they were trying to do. You don't always ID someone when you sign an agreement. Like when if a contractor comes to your house and they're going to replace some windows, you sign an agreement with the contractor, they put their name on it. Do you check the ID of the guy signing that document? No, you accept that they're representing themselves as a representative of the company. You have a reasonable expectation that the representation is genuine, because that's how contract law works. Without getting hyper technical every single second of the day, business can actually take place. So
Mhm.
not validating ID, Valor took a little bit of heat for that. That's not really their responsibility. It's Tonka's responsibility to sign the contract. That's
They
the
also wanted a video of the contract signing because it's something they just do for social media as well as
Oh,
a
perfect. Yeah, good promo, right? Because then
yeah.
they could say, "Look at this guy. He's juiced up. He's ready to fight. Come visit us in January."
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's good stuff. And of course, I give Valor a little more leeway because they're used to dealing with fighters, and what they've got here are two social media personalities, e-celebs, whatever you want to call them, dirty, filthy money whores. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
uh,
Another major problem on the way to the whole blood work stuff is during that whole contract signing thing. I had Tara LaRosa call me and talk to me for like an hour,
sure.
and this was when I was no longer involved in it directly. But she was calling me because I had known her from the live streams and all that. Uh, she was upset because he refused to talk to her, and he would send his well ex-girlfriend to go talk to her instead of him talking to her directly, which she considered very unprofessional.
Yeah, and that is very unprofessional. if you're if you're it's not like to me at least, it's not like Tonka at that time was important enough to have an agent,
Hmm.
or something that he's traveling all over. He's got all sorts of engagements and just doesn't have time, so he's got some sort of professional to deal with. Sending a girlfriend is a little bit weird, and that puts Tara, that puts Valor in a weird place, because
Hmm.
if you're sending someone who's like your close friend or a girlfriend or significant other, they don't know if they have agency authority over you. Now, if you're sending an attorney or an agent, right, they can make the assumption that this person can make decisions. They've had discussions with the person, but you never know what like a significant other or a friend is going to do or have the authority to do.
Well, it also doesn't help that you're sending somebody that doesn't know anything about MMA to talk to, somebody that's mediating MMA contract and everything. But the big part of it, why he sent her to speak to Talarosa, is because he was pissed off that she set up the fight in 5 minutes and kind of put it on social media before him and Andy got to agree on anything. Andy, as soon as he saw the tweet, instantly was like, fine, because originally it was supposed to be a boxing match. He was like, fine, I'll take it. MMA fight, no problem.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, I think Tonka mentioned that on stream that it was originally going to be a boxing match, and then and then it switched to MMA, which I think that was probably a better move personally.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of I think boxing can get very very dangerous if you have people who don't know what they're doing. Whereas I think MMA has it's weird because I think MMA is actually less dangerous in that respect. But that's my personal
Mhm.
opinion. I don't know. Yeah, I see that the live stream video is a bit choppy. I can't figure out. Oh, I figured out why. I'll fix it. Sorry, guys. In the meanwhile, can I ask you? Let's take a quick pause. I want to ask you if you think that Tonka had any intention of doing this fight. Like you're
Up
probably one of the closest people who had talked to him.
up till the last minute, I did. I really did. He convinced me that he was gonna go to the fight. Uh, we were supposed to. We had an agreement, that he would send me money to rent a car,
Hmm.
and it got closer and closer to the deadline, and there was still no money. And at the last minute, I found out that I was going to be the corner guy. I had no idea. I thought I was just attending it, and so that's why when a lot of people are like, "Oh, wait, did Failure even get his cornerman license?" I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea about the fight game, so I didn't even know you need a license or anything. I just thought it was the guy that brought the stool, the towel, and the fucking and the drink.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, I think what you thought about the fight game is reasonable because
Mm.
there's a lot of rules that that people don't seem to realize. And personally, I think maybe Tonka didn't realize some of those rules as well. He didn't seem to know anything about licensure for
Well,
the fight.
he admitted on air that he'd never had amateur fights as he claimed. He claimed he had 3 amateur fights, and it turns out that no, he had non-sanctioned fights back in the day when I guess things were a little bit more in a gray area. But who knows if that's the truth?
Yeah, I mean, by that standard, so have I. So, because I've I've been in both friendly fights and unfriendly fights in my history, so I guess I have an MMA record too. No, that's I'm
Mhm.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The more this kind of comes out to me, and maybe I don't know. Has your opinion changed? I mean, you said up until right before the fight, you thought he was going to, but now kind of looking back, do you think that maybe he just here let me do this. Here's what I think maybe happened. I think maybe Tonka had counted on Andy to fail.
Hmm.
And so he just assumed Andy was going to screw it up, that he wouldn't be able to stick to the plan, that he wouldn't be able to train, that he wouldn't get his stuff done, that he wouldn't be able to get a visa and come in to the country or whatever he needed to do, that he wouldn't follow through on it. So I think he kind of banked on that, and then as it got closer, maybe he went, "Oh, I need to try and get this done," and then couldn't get it done. But
Yeah.
that's my opinion. Although I do wonder, because I mean, he signed the wrong name back in November.
Hmm.
Do you know what name he signed on the document? Like, you don't have to say it. I'm not asking you to dox the name or anything. But I think I've heard what he represented to me is not what he actually signed on that document.
I don't know what the name on the document is. I know the name that's on the blood work, and it, the fact that he's saying, "Well, it's the first name, middle name," back like that really tossed me because he told me a totally different third name, and when you find out, oh, well, the guy that I thought I knew for a year and change told me a fake name. You're like, okay, what else was he lying about?
Yeah, that's the weird thing to me. I have Yeah, he told me the switching the middle and the first name or whatever. But I have heard that that is not the name that's on the contract. That it was completely different. And in that case, I'm really curious about what was in his head on that November date. Maybe he'd come on and tell me. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke. I don't know that he'll be back on my show. He's welcome to come on. He can yell at me if he wants. That'd be fine. I'd be okay with that. Um, so that's where we are. We have him saying he's going to fight, representing that he's going to fight, signing a contract, not signing it on video, not providing
Mhm.
ID, and then when he does turn in his blood work, which if I understand right, his blood work was late as
Yeah.
well. He
Well,
turns
so
it.
was the contract signing.
Okay, so his contract signing was late too, back
Yeah.
in November.
Mhm.
Just red flags, red
Unprofessional,
flags,
yeah.
Valor.
Yeah.
How late was it?
Like, uh, I think it was like a little bit over midnight.
Oh, okay. So he was supposed to sign by midnight, and it was a little past then.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have that. We have him representing. We have him turning in the blood work late. We have the name change coming when they're like, wait a minute, the name on your blood work doesn't match the name on the document. We've got some allegations that there's a notary stamp that was placed on the name change document that is not authentic for some reason or another. We've got allegations that the blood work or that the name change document was not filed. Um, and so then after that, so the fight gets canceled. And then after that, we've got all this other stuff coming out. And this is what you were on stream. I joined you in Zoom the other day
Mhm.
just for a few minutes to kind of hear some of this stuff. And I'm going to kind of relay that, but please help me out if I miss something. I have heard that there's that the basically the Morning Kumite, the Google AdSense account that's attached to it, is actually
Mhm.
run through a nonprofit LLC. Is that right?
I do not know if that's the case. I know that he has publicly said that his account is under his grandmother's name, and that's why he feels like his account's he has a wrestling channel called Grapple Vision, which avoided a lot of like issues as far as getting strikes and as also getting pushed by Google, and he felt it was a lot to do with the fact that it was under a woman's name, his grandmother's name. Zoom found out about the LLC. I don't know if the two are connected, but it could be a possibility. I do not know if that's a fact or not.
Okay. So yeah, the so we'll have to treat that as an alleged thing right now. But even so he had the channel under his grandmother's name,
Mhm.
the Grapple Vision, and that's the channel that he said he was giving to you and then took back. Is that right?
Yeah, he said on air I was now the owner. He changed the title and everything to reflect that I was the owner of Grapple Vision,
Mhm.
that it was my wrestling channel. Last month, his ex girlfriend came to me, which at the time was his producer, might still be his producer. She was complaining because out of the super chat money that the Kumite got, she got $0.
Right.
She was not getting any pay from the super chats. The only money that she got was the little money that came from the Streamlabs, and sometimes it would be as low as like $40 a month. And I gave her advice. We talked about other things, but just talking about the money was one of the main things. And I gave her the advice that one day Tonk is not going to be around. He keeps saying that he's not internet people, that, this is gay, and one day he'll leave. And when he does, you're not going to be left with an identity. You need to go, and if you want to do this, go make your own channel. Well, she already had a channel. She already had like a small following that would watch her, but she stopped it as soon as she started doing the Kumite. And I told her, start streaming again. Maybe build something on Twitch. You're a female. Females, you're automatically given like +1 if you're a female and you're on Twitch over the
Yep.
guys. So go and do that. And she uh, decided after that phone call to probably go and tell him, because 15 minutes after the phone call, I got a email from Google saying I was no longer the owner of Grapple Vision, because he had still had the admin status on the account.
Gotcha. Now the girlfriend you're talking about, his producer, that's Vamp. Is that right? Vamp
Yeah,
Candy. Okay.
yeah.
I'm just trying to get all this clear in my head. Um, okay, so he paid Vamp basically nothing as a producer on the show, and then you were supposed to get some cut of the show as well, and he paid you way less than that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the total we added up was somewhere around 6,800, but there were some amounts that I paid to Vamp, so you have to like balance that out. So let's say around somewhere in the ballpark of $6,000 for the year, while the show was on his channel. And from what she says, the show made about 70 grand in 2018. So I was vastly underpaid. The only time I did know what was being made was when the show was on my channel for a small period. And out of that money, when I went to go give him that money, it was after the breakup of the show that was on Andy Worski's channel, because we moved the show from my channel to Andy Worski's channel when we got a strike. He said, "I don't want that money. You live with that money." So it was basically a kind of like, "Screw you. There's your dirty money" type of thing. So
Sure.
that's the most I've ever gotten from that. But that was when it was on my channel. The 70 grand was from when it was on his channel.
And can I ask what your arrangement was on the split? Like what you believe you were supposed to be paid?
Well, originally it started off with like $500, and slowly went up to 1,000, and then 1,500, and it was always with next month is going to be more, and you're going to end up getting like $5,000 next month, and then it never happened. In front of the audience, he kept saying the majority of the money went to failure, and that was a lie.
Yeah. That that seems to represent to the audience who's making the payments that the money's going somewhere, and then not pay it there. That's tough. Did you ever think about kind of calling him out on that, or did you ever talk to him just out of curiosity? And you don't have to talk about your private conversations. I'm just curious.
I, uh, I didn't have a backbone back then. It was a thing also where I don't like talking about money with people, and like even when it was like time to get paid, sometimes it would be like a week after I know Google pays them, and it'd be like, hey, you think I could get some money here? Bills are coming
Yeah,
up, and
exactly.
so it was a thing of no freaking backbone. That was a big part of it. And also, I never intended this to make me rich. I started doing the YouTube thing while I had a full time job, and it was mostly just to have fun, and that was it. Anything that I made was all right, a little bit extra to buy a video game or something, or a little bit extra to do something on the weekend.
Right. Did you ever know or have any idea that he was pulling in $70,000?
I only found out last month from Vamp.
I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy that he. Oh man, my camera keeps going out of focus. Sorry. That's crazy that he would keep that from you. Well, I mean, that I think that's a good sort of basis backstory. So real quick, I want to catch up on chats, and then I want to start kind of seeing if we can nail down some of these potential causes of action based on kind of the information that you have and that I have, and then we'll see what's going on.
Mm.
Anonymous masked me for $2, which I assumed was Bagel Goose, but I don't see him in the chat. Says, I'm late because I fell off a ladder, but I'm here now. Well, welcome to it. Gojirify says, Nick, the school photographer, wants you to fix your collar. The other students are getting impatient. Abel says, failure. Do you think Donga is plotting revenge?
Possibly. The time that the Kumite ended, he kept saying to his public that he wouldn't trash talk me or anything, as a way, I guess, to kind of get some, like, yeah, I'm not attacking the guy, so give me some points.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to go after anybody else? Like, I mean, you have an obvious target on your back because you were friends with him. Some people would suggest that you either sold him out or you're some sort of snake or unfaithful or whatever. I think you've maybe laid out some adequate defenses for that. The guy said he was going to pay you. The guy appears to have
Hmm.
been lying to you for quite a long time. That sort of thing. But so you have a target on your back. Do you think he's going to go after anyone else? Do you think anybody else is on the hook? Like, is he going to mess with Andy? What do you think about that?
Uh, I I really think he would be stupid too, but he is dealing with people behind the scenes that are giving him terrible advice, and they're also compiling a list of every turncoat or anybody that likes or retweets something that is kind of not favorable towards them or making fun of them. So I,
Sure.
I think they're probably going to plan something for the future.
The gay ops never end. The gay ops never end. Hey, we're joined by Loyal Logic. Welcome to the stream, buddy.
How you doing, Nick?
Hey, good man. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Heard nothing but great things.
Well, I'm sorry you've been lied to. No. So briefly, can you failure asked if I could invite you on. I said as long as he was comfortable with it, of course, that you'd be welcome on if you have information about this. So can you kind of tell everybody why you're on the show?
Yeah, so what happened is when Andy announced he was doing streams with, this group, I was one of the first people that went over, and I'm extremely friendly. You can tell by my videos, my Twitter. I love talking to people. So I got to know a lot of these people. And in doing so, I became quite close to some of them. I mean, Valor became friends. I mean, I engaged with everybody. Um, it came apparent to me really a couple months after that Tonka was a liar. Um, lying about wrestling and his business stuff. Like I knew it. Like, so I didn't call him out on it. Other people started to.
Sure.
And as time went on, there's people speaking up about it. Um, fast forward, we get to the fight, and I'm pretty critical about it. I did some videos on it. Me and Valor were always talking, and it was kind of eating him up inside because, here he is, Valor's like myself, he's a good guy. Um, and it's really upsetting him that he's in the middle of all this. I mean, Valor, if you look multiple times, people seem to forget this. He said publicly multiple times, I'm trying to stay out of this. It wasn't like people act like, oh, he was his right hand man. That just wasn't the case, though. That just wasn't at all. Um, he was trying to be a friend. I said it best in my video, and I'm sorry to rant.
No,
But
you're fine.
then we get to fast forward a little bit more. The day that before he streamed, he contacted me, and Taylor says, "Listen, Logic, I can't deal with it anymore. I can't do it anymore. He's lying. He's been lying, and in failure, he'll say, "Oh, I didn't know." But like I said in my video, you always want to think the best of your friends. You want to think they can get better. So failure said, "I need you to help me write something out to kind of denounce him." So I helped him out with that, and he wanted to do a video, but he was upset. I mean, I'm telling you guys right now that are watching, I've never seen him in the time I've known
I
him.
even asked you, do you think I should go talk to Tonka before I make this video? And you were like, no, because well, yeah, because I mean, everybody can watch my video. I'll give a quick breakdown. I had a friend of 15 years who never did a drug a day in his life. He ended up doing drug one time, and he became a druggie. And after a year trying to help him, I had to go to him and say, we can't be friends anymore. Mind you, that this was my best friend from 3 years old to about 18, 19. And the reason I stuck it out with the year for him, like failure, you want to think the best of your friends. And he was extremely upset. He knows that I keep everything private. I talk to a lot of people in the community, outside of the community. And we sat for about, I'd say an hour and a half talking about it, because he knows I've been involved. I've seen all the things Tonka said. I've called him out on stuff, you know. I've been very brutal about it. And that's why if you go back and look at the Kumite, you're like, why was the logic on it? Because I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be around him.
Gotcha.
You know, because the reason I didn't go for to the fight, for example, is because I said in my video, I did not want to call Andy out for what he did to failure. And, you know, now they're good. So I'm fine with Andy, obviously, but I didn't want to create a scene. I'm one of those individuals. I rather just leave it be and let everybody else figure it out.
Gotcha. So since then, you've been kind of covering the drama. You've been helping out failure with dealing with navigating sort of this weird place that he's in.
Oh,
and that's why you're on the show today. So I'm hoping you can help fill in any sort of missing information here. I've got 4 chats real quick, and then I think let's get into that a little bit closer. Schwanz Gruberman says, "Can I glass Failure's father?" I don't know. Do you mean like sculpt them in glass? I think you might mean nuclear weapons, and my advice would be the same. Can't condone illegal activity. Tillip is the guy who does the art for my channel. He says, "Shill the shirts, show the designs on screen."
Show them out, Nick. Show them. Do it to it.
I'm not gonna pull them up right now. I'll pull them up later, because I know that Failure said he doesn't have all night here, and I want to respect that. So I'll do the shirts in a little bit. But you can check them out yourself if you click on the description, the merch store in the description on YouTube, or you can click on the merch tab on Stream Me and check them out. I added a Rekieta Law hoodie today in all sorts of colors. Go check it out if you're interested. You know, if not, I know that he's going to kill me for saying this. If you don't like merch, then don't look at it. It's just there for people who like it. And if you like that stuff, go ahead and check it out. So Anonymous again, Mask Me says, "Big Boy dressed himself today. I see. That's great, Nick." Yes, I did. Sometimes I do. I work on my own schedule and my own things, although they don't really work out, because apparently my collar is not pressed and this color is bad. Hessian says, "It's a pleasure to see my favorite Cuban on Nick's show. Help him out. He's stuck on a raft and looking for friendly shores. Have a wonderful stream, folks, and good job, Failure, on your weight loss. Keep it up." Yeah, and you know, I'm sort of, I feel like I'm like Loyal Logic. I like to be friends with everybody. I like to talk to anybody out there who has something interesting to say. Now, that doesn't mean that people always end up coming out the best from it. As we saw last week, I think a lot of people think Tonka looked pretty bad after that interview with me. But you know, it is what it is. And I will say the truth, like Glenn Beck, the truth will set you free. Or whatever. And it just looked to me like he was lying the whole time. So, chat doesn't know who the new guy is. Please reintroduce. This is Loyal Logic. You can find him at Loyal Logic on Twitter, and you have a YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. And I will link it in the description, but I'm not going to do it on the fly because hashtag boomer level. Okay, so let's start breaking down the alleged possible criminal acts, if we can. I've got a piece of paper and everything, guys, right here.
There we go. Official.
We're gonna write this down. So It's salmon colored, Jeremy Carroll. It's salmon. It's not pink. How dare you? How dare
Go ahead and
you?
tell yourself that, Nick.
Okay, if we can't lie to ourselves, who can we lie to? Everybody, just about. All right, so we've got with I think so. The first thing we've got is Tonka signing the contract. That's where I'm going to start.
Yes.
So Tonka signs a contract, and he uses. I'm still not 1,000% clear, but my understanding is that he signs a name on that contract in November that is not his. Is that right?
From what we understand, yeah, I would assume, right, Failure?
I thought it was the blood work one was wrong.
Now, here's the weird thing on that. So people, I've seen it pop up in the chat a couple times. People are asking me what I saw, because Tonka did show me a couple things on camera, but off of the stream. Okay. What I saw was a driver's license with a date of January 10th. Date of January 10th on that driver's license. And then I saw blood work paperwork. And I get it. Some people suggest that the blood work paperwork could be photoshopped and then printed, could be doctored. I don't know, right? I could just tell you what he showed me, which is a piece of paper on that paperwork. And the name on the paperwork matched the name on the driver's license, on the blood work. What he did not show me was the contract. I have no idea what was on that contract. I did not see the name change form. I didn't see any of that. So I don't know what happened on any of those other documents. The camera was also extremely blurry and couldn't focus, which I thank God, I guess he never turns his camera on, because he just looked like a horrific mess. But yeah, so I couldn't really read the documents very well, but I could make out that the names were the same on the blood work and on the driver's license. So this is all, the weird thing to me is then what did he sign? Because I feel like if he just flopped his names middle and first, the Valor wouldn't have cared that much.
Yeah, exactly. So there had to be something on their end that they saw that we're not privy to yet, and they might be keeping it close to their sleeve because they don't want to, give him anything to hang himself with.
Exactly. And I haven't had time, guys, to reach out to Tim Loy, but I do intend to ask him if he'll share a copy of that contract since the NDA is violated. So we'll see on that. So Tonka signs a name that's not his on his contract. And right there, to me, that is fraudulent inducement. That's a common law fraud, because what he does at that point is he then induces Valor to start making arrangements for this fight. Like they start marketing it, they start adding him to the card. And
can I ask, well, what is it when? But isn't there? I don't know. I'm not a law aficionado like you. What is it though when it's led to financial loss? Isn't there another when it's led to a certain threshold of loss?
Maybe.
I'm trying to think of what it's called, but I just.
To me, it all goes under fraud. Common law fraud is when you misrepresent something to either gain a benefit for yourself or cause a loss to someone else. So to me, that's where the fraud occurs. Whether it could have, there could be a specific monetary provision in state law in Alabama, although this would probably be in Tennessee. That's another thing we need to talk about, is that this contract, because it's with Valor, who does business in Tennessee, is most likely under Tennessee law. I'm guessing that's their choice of law provision because they're bringing in fighters to Tennessee to do their events. They're under the Tennessee Athletic Commission. Their contract law could be a different state, but I'm guessing it's Tennessee. So it doesn't really matter on these issues with Valor what's up with what's going on in Alabama where Tonka lives. So we've got a fraudulent signature. Then we've got an issue of the blood work. Now, people are asking me to read Valor's statement on Facebook, and I can pull it up. I know roughly what it says, but let's pull it up. Valor. Okay, I'm on Facebook. God, what a great.
Because they said someone else's blood, and I was like really shocked when they said that, because that's pretty serious.
Yeah, that's an interesting. We'll say course they're taking. On
Yeah, because when it would be different. They said someone else's name, or but they literally came out and said someone else's blood.
Right. Let's see. Excuse me. I'm almost to the statement. It's coming up. They're apologizing for their pay-per-view performance, which was apparently abysmal. Good job.
Shows
well,
you
it's
the
sad,
demand, yeah.
And it's sad too, because that was supposed to be a big one for them, and it's for small promotions like that, and that's why I think they will pursue legal action, because this was their opportunity to break into a new market.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's why I think this statement is strongly worded, because of the whole new market thing. Because here they have the opportunity, and they know. That's why they took this fight, right? They've got thousands of fans. Oh, hold on. I got to get rid of this stupid sidebar. Where is this? There we go. Okay. I'm going to dox everybody. I know. That's great. Good job. Very professional. So here's a statement, guys. I hope you can read it. I can maybe zoom it in just a little bit, because it's all right. Oh my goodness, what is happening?
I'm surprised you don't have a screenshot of it.
I don't have any. That's too much work. Here we go. So here's Valor Fighting Challenge. We felt it necessary to provide an update to a fight that was supposed to happen today at VFC 54 between two online personalities. And this is my favorite part. My favorite paragraphs of this statement are the first one and the last one. Andy Worski and TonkaSaw. We would like to make it clear that we are a professional MMA organization. Our core values are based on inclusivity, diversity, and free speech. And this release is in no way a positive affirmation of any particular ideas, comments, or videos, but simply a statement of fact to set the record straight. So they go ahead and lead with diversity, and we are good and diverse people. Then they follow up. Due to the unique nature of this bout, we at VFC required both these potential athletes sign a contract, state a few particulars, such as sales commission, timetables for blood work, etc. So we already know that by failing to turn in the blood work, there's a breach of contract there as well. Although the contract was probably already void because of the fraudulent signature, but we'll talk about that later. Timetables for blood work, etc. Amateur fighters in the state of Tennessee must submit blood tests that prove they are free from hepatitis B, C, and HIV. Pop quiz to my guest: does Tonka have AIDS? That's a joke.
No comment.
I
plead the fifth.
Does that make him roll AIDS then? With the okay,
that's good. That's good.
That was always the joke when I was a kid about Magic Johnson in a wheelchair, I guess. This Mr. Worski did within the required time allotment. However, when Mr. TonkaSaw sent in his required blood work, it came with a different name and a different photo ID than the one he signed the contract under. We informed him that, unfortunately, the two names must match up. Otherwise, we could be responsible to any number of potential liabilities. Sorry. A number of days passed, and Mr. TonkaSaw again returned the original contract with the new name that was sent in with the blood work and ID, along with a change of name form that was dated from the time of him sending his blood work to us. This raises quite a few number of red flags on our end. Yeah, the red flags being, if he sent in blood work and an ID, how did he have a name change that was mirrored to that? Right? Now, this is interesting because I didn't catch this the first time. It says that he did sign the new contract with the new name. I was unclear on that. I thought that they never had the contract with the new name. And I saw several people saying that as a defense to him. Well, why didn't they just have him why didn't they just reissue the contract and have him sign the new name? Is that what you guys remember?
Yeah, I thought, and that's the thing. Maybe it just could have got said wrong, or people, spin it. You know how things get spun, But reading this, obviously, it was just maybe misinterpreted.
Yeah, that's very weird to me because my understanding was that he never had the opportunity to re-sign the contract with a new name. And I've read this statement like 10 times and I didn't catch that until just now. Okay. Finally, due to the enthusiastic response of Mr. Worski's and Mr. TonkaSaw's online supporters, we required both gentlemen to sign another contract in addition to their original one. Now, my understanding is that this new contract never materialized. This one, absolving VFC or the Civic Coliseum for all liability, and informing them that if their fans are making proximate threats online or in person, that Mr. Worski and Mr. TonkaSaw will report such people to the appropriate authorities. And that if actions are taken against VFC 54 or the Civic Coliseum, Mr. TonkaSaw and or Mr. Worski would be pursued civilly and criminally. Mr. Worski signed his additional agreement. Mr. TonkaSaw did not. And what I will say is, as neither of these guys' legal counsel, signing that statement was absolutely stupid.
Well, yeah, because you can't. The thing is by them signing that, and if someone did call a bomb threat, that kind of opens them up to being sued because they can just say, "Well, you caused the bomb threat."
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that is a huge red flag, right? I mean, I would have never signed it. I would have looked at it and go, no, I'm not going to be held responsible for something I can't control.
But it kind of shows you that Andy was willing to fight no matter what.
Yeah.
Even though, he signed something that was stupid, but his heart was in the right place as far as wanting to fight.
Exactly. All right. Sorry, I was trying to fix.
By the way, congrats! You have I think about more likes than the Kumite will have viewers. So congrats.
Thank you, and thank you all to the audience watching, of course, and thank you for clicking that like button and share or whatever. The typical YouTube shilling. Okay, so that leaves us where we are at today. Mr. Worski sent in his blood work and ID. Now this is interesting because at the time I interviewed Tonka, I don't think Worski or Tonka had signed that contract, but I do wonder if Valor did have Worski sign the contract after the fact, even though he knew Tonka wasn't coming for this statement. Because it looks to me like Valor was very quickly starting to set up a civil action against Tonka. Like, whether they go through with it or not, we won't know, but it sure looks like they were getting things ready for it.
Oh, I believe so. I don't see. I mean, I think they realize they're not going to get anything, but it's more of a statement that this guy's got away with so much. This is the final straw.
Right. Absolutely. Let's see. So Mr. Worski sent in his blood work and ID. He made it to Tennessee. He made weight officially. He passed the physical. He agreed to be held liable should one of his fans or himself be the proximal cause of distress for VFC or the Civic Coliseum. It should be proximate. Mr. TonkaSaw sent in someone else's blood work and ID. He did not make it to Tennessee. He was not here to check his weight. He has not undertaken a physical as per the UMMAF requirements. He didn't even take a physical?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. He did not.
Well, here's the thing. How do you not take a physical, but then you get blood work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's weird. And I wonder if that is, I was thinking it's one of two things. Either they're saying that because the blood work name didn't match, and they're running on the theory that it's someone else's in concept because it's a different name, or that, and then they're carrying that over to the physical, right? Like, well, we don't know that he took a blood work, so he must not have, he didn't do a physical either because the names don't match. Or they legitimately think that that's someone else's blood work and the physical was done. I wonder if they did a pre-fight physical with a Valor doctor. Oh, excuse me.
He missed out on a lot of stuff. Like he never told me I needed a cornerman license. He lied about. He kept telling people that he was training me to be a cornerman and that my stool game was on point.
Yeah, one thing too, Nick, is that maybe that they saw the blood work and they contacted the people that did the blood work to verify, and they, because they're tied to the fighting, athletic commission and stuff, they have connections to get answers.
Yeah, well, and I would assume that any sort of contract for them would have a medical release in it, because he's going to be providing the documents. But if they need to verify them, I would think there'd be a medical release as well. I'm going to indulge in. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to indulge in some Napaway gin from my good friend Keck. Thank you, Keck.
Tell us how it tastes.
I will. Do you guys drink at all?
Oh, rarely, but when I do, oh man, it goes down.
Oh boy, yeah, I haven't drank since anything hard since that 1.5 liters of Grey Goose, and yeah.
Oh, how'd that go? That sounds awful.
Blackout drunk on the floor. I think I called some people some terrible words on stream and sang karaoke.
That's the best stream I can think of personally. That is a very good gin. It's really smooth. The fragrant or the botanicals are not strong in it. It's a subtle gin, which is weird. That's
good. So it's a good mixing gin.
I don't know. I don't mix anything. I drink everything straight, personally, but it might be. But yeah, it's just got a little. It does have the juniper in there, but not a lot of other flavors. Some gins are like drinking perfume, which can be good too if it's a good mix. But all right, that's a sidebar. Sorry. Okay, he did not agree to be held liable should one of his fans or himself be the proximal cause of distress for VFC or the Civic Coliseum. We would like to state that while we are strong supporters of many ideas such as respect, tolerance, diversity, here's the sandwich, the diversity sandwich, and inclusivity for all people at all times, which is not an interracial relationship, guys. That's not a diversity sandwich. And inclusivity for all people at all times. And as such, this is not an endorsement of Mr. Worski, his online views or speech, simply a statement of facts as we have them. And we wish to make this known to our fans as well as Mr. Worski's and Mr. TonkaSaw's supporters. And just think about that, guys, that an organization that deals with amateur fighters who probably have a comical level of speech crimes on the average hour sought it necessary to make very clear that they don't support the speech of Mr. Worski.
Well, and also they want to do it too, so they understand, people coming forward in the future that are fighting there. Hey, we don't endorse what he said.
Right. I'm of course just making fun of the overt diversity statement. So we've read the statement. We've got a fraudulent signature. We've got breach of contract. Now we have, this is how a complaint would work from Valor. These are all causes of action for Valor. Fraudulent signature, that's fraud. Breach of contract is if they determine that the fraudulent signature is not fraudulent, they would then have because if it's fraudulent, then it would go ahead and it would void the contract. And then you can't have a breach if it's voided, right? It'd be the fraud that is the cause of action. But if they determine that the original signature was good enough for a contract, even if it wasn't good enough to match up with blood work, and therefore causes problems later, they would have the breach. And the breach would be that he failed to turn in his blood work on time, especially after being given an extension and having to know that the fight card locked on Friday and that Valor was assuming extra risk to do that. Then we've got another fraud in the blood work, right? Because we've got fraudulent blood work.
What about the physical? Wouldn't that be a breach as well?
That's one I'm not. Yes, it would be a breach of contract, I assume. Hold on, late.
Because breaching the contract in any way is causing them financial hardship.
Right. So we've got late blood work, we've got fraudulent blood work, we've got fraudulent ID, apparently. And now that is not going to be the same as like a criminal fake ID. I think the standard for that might be different. He did have, I mean, I saw the ID. It looked legitimate. Now, of course, I didn't put it under like a blue light or whatever to see if the holofoil print on there was correct. I don't know anything about Alabama IDs to know. But I mean, I saw what looked like a legitimate identification with name that matched the blood work. I couldn't really... I could kind of make out a picture, but not well enough to see if it was him or someone who just looked like him. And I've heard that he has an older brother who looks very similar to him. Is that correct? Do you guys know?
I have no idea.
I don't know about that. By the way, Logic, people are complaining that you're vaping into the mic.
Oh, shit. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'll stop that then. I appreciate that. Someone let me know.
No problem.
Vaping is not allowed on this stream. How dare you?
I had no idea.
But yeah, I don't know anything about any brothers.
Okay, that was a rumor I heard. I have no idea. That's why you guys are here to help me out with this stuff.
Yeah, that would have been the first time I've ever actually. And like I said, I started almost day one.
Does anyone in the chat, if anybody in the chat knows any information about an alleged brother, can you guys tag me and kind of clarify that? Is that a rumor or is that a real thing? I'd really appreciate that. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Okay, so fraudulent blood work, fraudulent ID. So then he's got, let's see. He's got a breach of contract on the physical. If the contract were still valid, but I think man.
Well, we have to assume though the physical would come before the blood work, right? I mean, that's how I would see it going down.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I would assume that the physical would be before the blood work.
You would, I don't know. And that's the problem with not having the contract because of the NDA. I think that the physical might be something that a Tennessee athletic commission licensed doctor does around weigh-in time, like maybe prior to weigh-in or at the venue itself. I'm not sure about that. Okay. So stepbrother is what I'm hearing, and his stepbrother has passed on, is what it sounds like. Puro Resu says his stepbrother and father are convicted sex offenders. No biological brother has been brought up. Okay, so there we go. So it's stepbrother. So probably doesn't look the same. And I'm getting a call from New York. That's interesting. Why am I getting a phone call from New York?
Vince McMahon's calling you up. He needs a lawyer.
No, I think I have an idea what it is. And we're going to just go ahead and ignore it. So... let's see. So then, now there may be some defamation involved here as well, for Valor, that, because it looks like Tonka may have, lied about some of the things, some of the representations that they made, may have lied about the contract issues. I don't know if anybody else has talked about this too much, but it kind of seems like he said some stuff about Valor and about the promotion, about the fight, that doesn't look like it's true. So I'm going to add defamation as a possible.
No, yeah, especially like on that AIU video, he said, "Oh, there's a change in rule set," and it's like, well, dude, you can't be saying things like that when it's not true. Because you're pitting them, they're doing something against you or against a fight that was not in the contract.
Right. Now, in fairness on that point, there was that rule change is true. Or it's not a rule change. It's a rule for amateur fights in Tennessee. Like the no elbows, no heel hooks or twisting leg locks, those are real.
I know. No, I know
Yeah.
that. I watched your stream about it. I'm just making the point. He was acting like they're the ones that imposed it.
Okay, so Tonka has a stepbrother named Hector, apparently. So thanks for clearing that up, guys. So much misinformation. Okay, so here's what I've got for Valor. I've got a fraudulent signature, breach of contract, fraudulent blood work, fraudulent ID, breach of contract on the physical. The breach of contract was the late blood work originally, and then defamation, RE Valor. Those are all causes of action. Valor's losses, from what I understand, are somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000 to $10,000. Although I think those losses included pay-per-view, and some of those are going to be mitigated because they did an overall refund on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So
there were also a lot of tickets that were refunded, and people said that there were. Well, you were there. Were there a lot of empty seats around?
There were a ton of empty seats. A surprising amount of empty seats, because I remember buying tickets and seeing a lot of the areas that seemed to be sold out when I was buying tickets had less people in them, we'll say.
I'm about to dip out because I'm fading here, but I just wanted to bring up one last thing. How about the fans? A lot of the fans donated money to him under the assumption that he was going to be training and using it for food for training, and also all the people that had flights or tickets that couldn't be refunded.
Okay, the 6,000, 6 to 10K was in seats that were refunded, not pay-per-view.
Wow.
And then yes, the fans, we're gonna get to that too. And Failure, thanks for hanging out, buddy. Whenever you need to peace out, you go ahead and do that. Thanks for the information. We're gonna talk a little bit about the fans, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the IRS, which may have a claim, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a second here. But thanks a bunch for joining me, buddy. And if you ever want to come on the show again and talk more about this or whatever else, you're certainly welcome to do so.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
Later, Failure.
Have a good night, buddy. All right, so Failure is out. So wait a minute. People are saying Ruth Bader Ginsburg is dead. Now, is Ruth Bader Ginsburg dead in the way that I say she's dead, or is she let's confirmed dead? If you want to look that. Oh, she can't be dead. I'm not ready to stream the entire day for the funeral, but I will when that happens. It's a meme. Dang it. I mean, I'm glad she's alive. Definitely want her to stay alive and keep.
She said she's wanted to serve till death. I mean, she's been pretty forthcoming with that.
Nothing on Google News. Dang it.
No, I didn't see anything.
Dang it. I mean, shoot. Dang lies. That's what I'm mad about. Not the fact that she's not dead yet. How many blood sacrifices per day? She's like the God Emperor. 1,000 unwilling souls.
They're doing rituals around her to keep her alive.
Okay. Here we go. Sorry guys. I got trolled because I'm hopeful that she will be off the bench. I would much rather her retire than die.
Well, that's what she's been pretty honest about that, though, that she had never wanted to retire, meaning she wanted to serve till death. And it's her right. I mean, we can't say it's not.
We can.
Well, you know what I'm saying,
Toad McKinley. Well, I mean, it's people tell me to get people on, but I don't necessarily have a line to them. If Toad wants on, DM me. If you're still in the chat, Toad, I'll bring you on, buddy. No problem. But let's DM me on Twitter, Toad, if you're there and you want to pop on the show. Like I said, I'm not opposed. Any people with more information. I know Toad's been doing a lot of work on this. So, in the meanwhile, let's kind of go through some more of this stuff. I think that covers it for Valor. So we've got 6 to 10K in seats. I think that the defamation, him talking about Valor, like one of the things he said was that the names didn't matter and they would have resolved the contract things. They just didn't have time to deal with it, right? Which sort of implies that they're not professional, that they didn't want to deal with it or something like that. But I don't think that's true. It looks like they made a lot of effort to make this fight happen, especially.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
they went above and beyond for both of them. I mean, and Andy, came through and Tonka didn't.
Exactly. That's shill the shirts, push the merch. I will.
You got to give the fans what they want, Nick.
Real Lady Rackets says my bestie is in the chat. Did you see? Yeah, I saw. Toad McKinley. Yeah, Toad. Where are you?
Yeah, he's doing some deep research.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that's going to be the people that really bring a lot of stuff to the forefront, or people that are deep diving, going through the streams and seeing what was going on, minute by minute of what he was saying.
Exactly.
Because there's 3 months there of streams. That's a lot of information to go through of everything he was stating that was happening. I mean,
here's Toad. Hold on, I'm pulling up. I got the DM to Toad open. I'm gonna get the. Oh, I can't dox the stream. Just a second. I'm so bad at this stuff. Doing this on the fly. Here we go. Well, Toad, if you want to come on, I've sent you the link. It's up to you. Whether you have more or less to add. I think you're more versed in this than I am, so I'm definitely gonna have you on if you want to come on. Yeah, if Jim wants in, I don't have a line to Jim, so
they're just trolling you. They're just trolling you.
Yeah. I've mentioned before that Jim's always welcome on my show. I don't think Jim wants to come on my show, which is fine. I understand.
Which is weird. You would figure that Jim would want to be on a show like this.
No, I think he might not for reasons of I don't know. And I don't nothing bad or negative against Jim or whatever. I'm a big fan. I've got my Sweetie Squad shirt upstairs actually. So let's get to let's start deconstructing this channel. Let's start deconstructing this channel issue. So now I have heard Failure mention that the wrestling channel was in the name of his grandma.
Yes.
So channel in name of grandmother.
And he made the claim, that it's because having it a female name would get it better in the algorithm. I mean, just making some outrageous claim up that made no sense, but because Failure's his friend, he goes, okay.
Yeah, that's that explanation doesn't make any sense. Although maybe he's an SEO expert. Like that's what happened. Tonka was actually just too good at SEO and knew that having a grandmother's name on the channel would work better. So the channel, that's the wrestling channel. And I heard that the Zoom alleges that the Kumite channel is in the name of the grandmother's LLC, which is a non-profit LLC.
As far as I understand, and Zoom is amazing researcher, I would take it pretty on face value of what he's saying, and that would be a big no-no.
Yeah, you're saying taking it on face value of Zoom?
Well, of what Zoom says, because he's a pretty thorough researcher. So if he's making that claim, he obviously has seen something. So if Zoom, you're listening, send it over to Nick what you got.
Yeah, and I have to say, because I literally have to say this. It's not a judgment on anybody, but I cannot endorse some of the alleged methods that Zoom has used to collect information. I can only suggest to people to do everything in the most above board legal way possible. And that is because I have a professional ethical obligation to say that. So I don't actually know what methods Zoom has used. However, I have heard some things that it's stuff that I would not be allowed to do, and that most people are not allowed to do. So if those are true, shame on you. Those are true. Shame on you. Don't talk about them. Yeah. So make sure whenever you're looking into this stuff, guys, make sure you always follow the law. So if the channel, let's assume arguendo that the channel is in the name of the LLC as Zoom alleges, we've got huge problems there.
Well,
Because-
may I ask, even if it was in the grandma's name, wouldn't that be a huge issue?
Yes, although a different one. But so the first issue is if it's in the name of the grandmother, then there's an IRS tax reporting issue that's going on. We've either got, so this is IRS tax evasion for Tonka. And maybe for his grandmother.
Can I propose? I don't think he's smart enough. What if they did a limited partnership 50-50? I mean, I don't think he's smart enough to do that with his grandma.
That would be, I mean, that'd be fine as long as they're reporting the income. Now, if I understand right, YouTube sends out a W-9 on $20,000 plus in revenue that goes out. My channel hasn't been around long enough to verify that.
Yeah, I would have to look into that.
But I believe that's the case. Although people are pointing out that the IRS is closed. so I guess good time, Tonka, to defraud the IRS if that's what you did. But if he is taking in this income, here's the thing. If it's in the grandmother's name and he's reporting it as his own income, like if she's just taking in the money and handing it directly to him, that's probably just fine. That's not an issue at all. If lots of YouTubers actually do this, I mean, heck, they were doing, that's what Tonka and Failure were doing. It's your responsibility to report your income, and then if YouTube were to say report if they were to report income to the IRS that they paid to you, and then the income that you report from YouTube doesn't match up, you might get audited, and they'll say, okay, why don't these numbers match? That's a different, and you'd have to then prove, well, I was paying out to this guy, or you provide some receipts and show them what's going on. But if he's not reporting any of it, that's a big deal. Now,
and that would explain, I have to say, that would explain the gift cards that Failure was receiving for payment. Because from what I was understanding the entire time is that Tonka would give Vamp money or the gift cards, and then he would get it from Vamp. So, but it was like, yeah, but then that's one way you get around it. I mean, I run a business, so I understand if you're buying gift cards, you can claim those gift cards are used for, food or whatever at the office. So if he's giving out the gift card to Failure, he can claim, oh, that was just an expense for office supplies.
Right. Now, if I was going to get to the gift card allegations, I'm glad you brought it up. That looks horrifically illegal. Like that, whether it doesn't change the nature of the offense, right? If you have unreported income, you have unreported income. But that looks like that's the type of stuff that the IRS finds, right?
Oh, very easily.
Yeah, and they say, yeah, why were you hiding this income? He's like, oh, I wasn't. I just got gift cards. Well, why didn't you report it? Now, to be fair to Tonka, he's still, he may be, depending on how all this is set up, he may not have had to report this previous year. Are we alleging that this money came in 2017 or 2018?
Well, that's the thing, is that it would be this upcoming year. And that's why when people were, I'm going to say this, Nick, when people were bringing up the tax stuff, I was just kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know what these people are talking about, because if it's all last year, he doesn't have to file till March or April, depending how he set it up, if it's a business or whatever. Because I know the end of March is when businesses got to file.
Exactly. Yeah. So if if he, depending on how this is set up, and if this is 2018 income, which that's my understanding, I mean, he still has time to report all this. I hope you saved up money, Tonka, to pay the taxes on 70 grand in income. You're going to have at least a 15%.
Well, and the merch. I mean, this is one thing that people have overlooked a lot too, is that merch. I mean, Failure never got any money from the merch. I honestly believe the merch is going to match nearly what because a lot of people, from what I understood, were buying merch.
Right.
Because he had Jim stuff. He had stuff from Jim and all kinds of other streamers there and now it's not there anymore. But so that was the only place for a while. If you wanted Mr. Medicare stuff, that was one of the only places you can get it for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the merch. That of course we don't know how that's structured. But here's the thing. Whether or not he reports it, that of course matters. Right now, it all looks to be structured in a way that it's set up for tax evasion. And that's if that's how he set it up, I would suggest that he quickly contact an accountant and a tax attorney and start making sure that everything he does is on the up and up. And he should know this by now. I don't know if he's watching this stream or not, but I'm sure he's seen some of these allegations, and he knows that some people are involved in looking at this.
Well, he's got time now, so there should be no excuse. He's got time.
Well, he had time to train too, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so the channel's in the name of the grandmother or the grandmother's LLC. We're not really sure. That could implicate the grandmother. If it is in the name of a nonprofit, we've got a separate problem in that the nonprofit then becomes liable for taking in this money. Not a good idea. To have a nonprofit taking in YouTube money unless the money that goes into it is going out for a charitable purpose. And that doesn't seem to be the case, especially if he's using it to buy gift cards and stuff like that. It does not seem to be what was going on there.
Now I have to ask this. This is important. How implicated is Vamp if she is the one that is giving the gift cards? That's a valid question.
I'm sorry, restate that because
So how implicated, is Vamp by giving the gift cards to Failure? I mean, that's a valid question because I know with financial fraud of any type, they take it serious if you're handling anything that's fraud.
Yeah, that gets muddy. It gets harder to prove, right? Because it's one step removed from Tonka. If she's giving gift cards to Failure, she'd have to ask why. Like, why are we doing gift cards? Why don't we just PayPal it over? Why don't we do that? And of course, the answer is if you're sending large transactions several months in a row or several weeks in a row of similar amounts, eventually they're going to start looking at that and it'll flag a suspicious activity report from a financial institution because they're on the lookout for money laundering. And companies like PayPal and anyone who does an online sort of easy transfer person to person, like if you're using Wells Fargo's pay another Wells Fargo account or whatever, they're extra vigilant on money
yes
laundering.
they are. Yes they are.
So
so pretty much it's muddy waters at that point. Like there's no point to even talk about it.
I mean, there's always a point. Vamp should be very careful about what she says. And is she his ex-girlfriend now? I heard that.
Yeah, I don't know when they broke up. It was they were kind of quiet about it, but yeah, they broke, and that's why I'm shocked that, and a lot of people are, that she just hasn't walked away.
Yeah, she should be very careful about what she says, because anyone who's involved in this, and in fact, in some ways, Failure should be very careful about what he says too. I mean, it seems to be, from what Failure has said on this stream anyway, it seems like he was kind of an innocent party in all this. But that, when did being innocent ever stop the IRS?
No, it doesn't at all.
He should be very careful. Guys, I've invited Toad. If Toad wants to come on, he'll come on. That's up to him. Let me hit a couple of these super chats and real quick, and then we'll get back into this. So
Don't forget to show the merch.
I'm gonna show the merch too. I was just gonna surprise them because they had no idea it was coming. Asphyxiation, I think it's got a bunch of numbers in it, but that's what's going. Donated $1. Thank you very much. Didn't have a message, but then he followed up with another chat that says, "What do you think of Andy Nashville and his new show Dumb ASS?" Which I think is a play on Johnny Knoxville, probably. I don't know. Does Andy have a new show, or is that just a joke?
No, no.
Logan Michael says Funko Pops are gay. Sounds good. Figbat D Nick says Figbat Digger Nick single malt justice. That's a shirt that may be coming very soon. Figbat. Thanks for watching, buddy. I really appreciate it. Lulzy King says, what about his tax evasion with his grandma's charity receiving his YouTube money and paying folks with gift cards? That's what we've been talking about. There's two. Some people may be confused. You can have a nonprofit that is not a 501c3 charity. You can just have a nonprofit organization that is federally taxed, but is exempt from various state taxes. That's one thing. And then getting a 501c3 is an additional thing. So there's two levels of problems. If his grandmother's charity is a 501c3 nonprofit, then you've got federal taxation issues plus state taxation issues. If it's just a nonprofit organized under the state of Alabama and it's not a 501c3, which again, it really depends on what you're doing, what your purpose is, then they could be in violation of the nonprofit statutes in Alabama.
And may I say also, doesn't it also your charity with the government, it has to relate to what you're doing. So the YouTube, you can't just do whatever you want. You have to show that that's related to your tax exemption.
Yeah, the money taken in needs to be related to your charitable purpose. So it's really weird if it is set up as a nonprofit, if it is set up as a 501c3 and that money's going in. I mean, I guess it could come in, but it's got to go out according to the charitable purpose. And it's got to go out to either another 501c3 organization, or it's got to be directly spent on whatever the cause of the charity is, or to pay administrative overhead. But a certain amount on 501c3s, a certain amount of money does have to go out of them each year based on any balances that they carry. So it's very, very messy. And if that's what they're doing, that's big trouble.
Yes.
Government doesn't like that.
Not at all.
Ryan English says, isn't it insane to agree to be held liable for something your fans do? Yes, absolutely. And I think that if Andy did indeed sign that, as Valor says, I'm pretty sure Andy didn't sign that until after they were aware that the fight was canceled, and Valor presented it to him after that. And even then, it's mildly insane. However, I think at that point, he would be pretty confident that no one on his side was going to do anything.
And I don't think Valor would have blamed Andy either way, but still, you should never sign something like that. You never know.
Right. And the other thing, now this is predicated, of course, on an alleged bomb threat that was reported by Tonka to Valor. And if I understand right, it was a Photoshop bomb threat to make it look like someone who is a fan of Andy's was threatening Valor. But there seems to be strong evidence that it was Photoshop. Do you know anything about that?
I heard about that, but I never saw any tweets or anything. I looked into it for a couple minutes and I just kind of shrugged my shoulders.
Yeah,
I was never in the Discord or anything like that. Like I said, months and months ago, I wiped my hands clean of it. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. Or that's what I read about, and I saw the file that was sent or whatever does have like Photoshop right in the name.
Jeez.
So unless they actually just for some reason imported it into Photoshop to make it, I don't know, compress it or something, but it doesn't look good. Again, I'm trying to be charitable and find a logical reason. Like I just
I think you're being really nice, giving him some rope, but he's just going to hang himself with it.
Well, I've already asked Amazon very clearly not to ship any rope to Alabama.
Yes.
Social Injustice Warrior says, wait. Ryan English had more to his comment. Said, or someone identified by Valor as your fan, whether true or not. And that's the big one for me as well, is how do you show whose fan that was? That sounds insane to me. Correct. It is very insane. And you can tell that neither Andy nor Tonka had a lawyer, and they really should have had someone looking this stuff over, because they could have negotiated this stuff out. Social Injustice Warrior says, so what are we talking about here? Are we getting a lawsuit or not? It's up to Valor. I will say that I spoke to a couple people, and they indicated that the owner of Valor is the type of guy who would pursue a lawsuit on this. And they were people with a reason to know about that. Now, will he? I don't know. It kind of depends. If it turns out that Tonka's been attaching his grandmother's name to the channel, Valor, who might want to do discovery on that, might have a path to recovering from his grandmother, and might have a path to recovering from the used car lot.
I love how you're being very direct with it. You're telling them, listen.
I do no such thing. I'm not giving them legal advice. They can figure that out on their own. But if Valor would be aware of the fact that Tonka's channel, which they could certainly send a legal request to YouTube to find this out. They could subpoena this information if necessary. If they were to find out that the channel where he did all of this stuff, where the fight promotion was supposed to be taking place, if all of where he talked about this, where the fight originated, was owned by a nonprofit, and that nonprofit might have assets that Tonka may not have, that would be a very interesting avenue to a potential recovery. Because I don't know. I mean, I get that Tonka made $70,000 on the Kumite or whatever, and then potentially quite a bit more on the merch shop, which we're gonna do merch in just a second. I apologize, but we are.
When I always said this, I have to say this, Nick. We are assuming it's 70K. It could have been more. We don't have an exact figure.
Right. Yes, and that's true. I'm just going off the number that was presented. That was presented to me is that 70.
I mean, there was days in there you could see. I mean, I remember in the early days they were making 2,000-3,000.
Right. Yeah, and it's certainly reasonable. But what my point in all this is, however much he made, I assume, based on everything else, that he's absolutely incompetent at keeping that money. He has basically no assets. I don't know if they went straight into like motorizing his wheelchair or what. That's yeah. I have no idea. But whatever it is, I have to assume that Tonka doesn't have any money left. And if that's the case, then they might have a problem recovering, or that he has sufficiently sheltered the money. Like maybe he's just got stacks and stacks of gift cards lying around, and he then wouldn't have the ability to, or he wouldn't have traceable assets in that way. But if Valor were able to tie it to the LLC may have assets. If they're able to tie it to the grandmother, she may have assets, especially if she's like, what? Why am I getting all this money? And he's like, no, grandma, just give it to me. And she's like, oh, okay, sweetheart. That would be a really bad choice. Yeah. Okay, so whether or not we're getting a lawsuit, I don't know. It's up to Valor. If they do it, it's probably in small claims court. If it's that 6,000 to 10,000 figure, unless they try to go after some extra damages on defamation, which I think they should do, because they should make it as expensive for him as possible to force a settlement, because they've got resources and he might not. But we'll see. We'll see if we get one. If it's reported and we get one, and I can find the documents, I'll definitely cover it. Anonymous masked you and said, "Gas the vapist." So apparently you are to be gassed.
I'm muting it now.
Landon Mack and James says that front hole Tonka would even no-show a game of winner's drink with friends. Oh, wait, he has none. Sounds like our boy Maddox, I would say, Daddy. Yeah, there's some similarities to Tonka and Maddox, and I think it's when people with egos that are too big get pushed into corners, they lash out because that's what their ego tells them to do. Freddie donated and said, "Do not infringe this man's right to vape, sir."
I appreciate that.
And then Freddie came back and said, "Never compare RBG to the Emperor, you heretic." Correct. You're right. I apologize, and I will flagellate for that. Metacurist Murdochian Archiver says, I have to get you on one day. Props on the work you do. Also, Ginsburg will live forever as long as there are enough foreskins out there. Gang, gang.
That was good.
Yeah. Metacurist.
Did you see that where she was on TV? Not her, but it was Julia Roberts or something. They were talking about the Korean. I couldn't believe it.
Wait, the Korean
the foreskins from the baby. Oh yeah, I put that down later for you to look up. It's crazy.
Oh,
they inject foreskin pieces or something from Korean babies into their face. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. I've heard. I did hear about that. Not specifically to Ginsburg.
No, but they're saying to make her live forever. But still, I couldn't believe that. I was like, why would you even say such shit on TV?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I saw a picture of RBG yesterday, and I guess that's why she kind of looks like an old version of Andy Dick. I don't know. Okay, I'm supposed to pull up the shirts here, guys. I'm supposed to pull up the merch, and I'm so bad at shilling, but let me put the store, because we're talking about merch here, and it's only right. So here you go. Here's the merch store. It's on teespring.com /store/Rekieta-law. You can find the link in the descriptions. We do have the Smug Mug here, which is my favorite named thing. And I released these hoodies today, which are the Rekieta Law logo. They come in all sorts of different colors. If this is your thing, check it out. And then, of course, I've got some other shirts that have some sayings on them like, this is reality, not Twitter, you giant idiot. And there's more to come as well. So there it is. I've shielded the merch. I really hate doing that, but check it out, please, if you want to.
Oh, no, you should, Nick. A lot of people really want to support you, man. It's the truth.
I know. So I've been a salesman a couple times in my past, right? And the last sales job I worked was Wells Fargo. And which was the worst year of my life, hands down. I went to that interview and they started talking about sales. And I said, if this is sales, don't hire me. I said, what? And I said, I'm literally the worst salesman on the planet. Don't hire me if this is a sales job. And they said, oh, it's needs based. And they hired me anyway. And then they got mad at how bad I was at sales. So
yeah, and then they got they got in that lawsuit for having people sign up for things they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I was reporting that because it was happening at our store. One of our tellers was signing people up for credit cards, and then one of our other bankers was signing people up for credit cards that they didn't ask for. And the customers would come to me screaming at why they got this new credit card that they didn't want. And I reported it several times to my manager, and the stores were incentivized to do that. They got profit for opening the accounts, and they didn't lose profit for closing them. So it went completely unreported. Good job, John Stumpf. I hope you enjoyed getting fired, dummy. There are pink shirts and hoodies in that merch store. If you click on any of the shirts, you'll see multiple
it's not
color
pink, it's
options. Salmon. There's a salmon option on some of them too. So, yeah. Okay. Couple more chats here. Matt Fields followed up and said, it's all those circumcisions keeping RBG alive. Kex7Go says, the man who raped incapacitated women at care facility was devout Christian, performed in Christian rap duo with his sister. You mean Christian rape duo with his sister, I think. How dare you typo that, Keck? Gravedigger says, date of death, July 24th, 2019, wikiobits.com, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Siren Jag, Keck, in that vein, a pack of SJWs invaded my Facebook, complaining that the Arizona guy who raped the incapacitated woman was charged with sex assault instead of rape. I told them twice that if they had issue with Arizona legal terms, move there and be a lobbyist. Tonka's granny said Tonka was just a useful idiot. I'm the mastermind, and I stole $50,000 from my deadbeat bitch-made grandson. So there you go.
That's great.
Anonymous says maybe she broke up with her real boyfriend instead. That's Vamp, I think he's talking about, which is kind of brutal. Cree Rose says failure covered Tonka for a year by saying he was being paid by more than 75% of super chats from Tonka. Does that mean he is also part of this fraud to his fans? No, I don't think so. The fraud to the fans, we're going to talk about that in just a second. The fraud to the fans more relates to, I think there was a GoFundMe set up or something like
Yeah,
that.
and then, well, now Vamp came forward and said, "Oh no, that was a joke." But again, you can't go to a judge and say, "Oh, it was a joke," when it's written out as a statement. Like I looked at it, the tweet, and I was like, "This looks like a statement. You're not joking about it."
Now, so they did a legit GoFundMe, right?
Well, they did a stream on Twitch, and if they did a GoFundMe, it must have flew past my head. But I know about the Twitch stream, and to me, that was I didn't see the joke in it. I don't know what's Vamp's talking about.
Yeah, that I saw some shots from that. I'm looking. Oh, there's a lot of results for Tonka. Ooh, God, nope, none of them. There's a bunch of dog things here.
Oh no!
My dog Tonka got hit by a car, so the dog's in a wheelchair too. Okay, I'm not gonna find it on that. Maybe TonkaSaw. I'll look one real quick. I had seen GoFundMe, but no. Tonka needs urgent surgery. Disabled
If
veteran
anybody
claim.
has it at me or Nick, and I'll forward it.
Yeah, if you've got the GoFundMe. Now I saw someone say a GoFundMe. That might have been in a hypothetical. I don't know that there was one. I don't want to misrepresent here. That's just something I saw in passing.
So I have a question with the tweet, with the Twitter. This is a good question. If she sends out a tweet saying, "Oh," because if you read the tweet, it says, "Oh, food's expensive in Tennessee, and I'm gonna need food. Come to my Twitch stream to donate. I'm raising money for it." Is that considered a charity type deal, or I mean, that's kind of muddy in my opinion, but I don't know.
It's muddy if it's on Twitch and it's not a charity stream. Okay, so what Zoom was saying about this, because he was talking about this while I was on the show, and I looked up, there is an Alabama code where Alabama could regard that as a charitable purpose.
I don't think she's in Alabama though.
Well, Tonka is.
Yeah, but she did the stream. She was the one stream.
So who would have jurisdiction there is a good question. That'd be federal, I think.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure, because it's a very muddy type question.
Now
maybe put that on the side for later.
Let's read this. Let's read this statute. This is 18 USC 1343. Fraud by wire, radio, or television. Whoever having devised or intending to devise any scheme or artifice to defraud or for obtaining money or property by means of false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises, transmits or causes to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, or television communication in interstate or foreign commerce, any writing, signs, signals, pictures, or sounds for the purpose of executing such scheme or artifice, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. If the violation occurs in relation to or involving any benefit authorized, transported, transmitted, transferred, dispersed, or paid in connection with a presidentially declared major disaster or emergency, that wouldn't matter here, or affects a financial institution, that may matter, such person shall be fined not more than $1 million or imprisoned not more than 30 years or both. So, here's the question. Did they come up with a scheme to defraud money by false pretenses, representations, or promises? Under just a strict reading of the law? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too, because the thing is Vamp at no point came forward saying, "Oh, I don't have hotel." She never at any point made it out to be that they weren't going. There was no what's going on. Now with Failure behind the scenes, I can tell you he was asking those questions. He was concerned, but he kept thinking, "Okay, we're going, because why wouldn't we?"
Right, and that's yeah. It seems like Failure was lied to the entire time, and I think he was even a little too soft on that today. It looks like Tonka was lying to him from the get-go.
He was too good of a friend. That's his problem.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it.
So I do think like they've got potential for federal wire fraud, because all this happened online. I think there's federal wire fraud possibly in the channel being the nonprofit or a 501c3 charity, depending on how it's set up. That would also be wire fraud because they're, well, I guess I don't know if that would be.
I don't think so. I think you're better off with the tweets themselves, because what it's doing is it's setting up for people to go to a stream with the anticipation of them giving her donations to go to an event.
Right. So it's possible. I don't know that they'd go for the wire fraud on this one or on just that much, but I think they go for the wire fraud on the tweets. When I say I think they go for it, I think they could make the case. Whether a federal prosecutor would look into this, we're not talking about a ton of money, but it depends on how many people get pissed off and how much is uncovered during the Alabama investigation.
Exactly.
If Alabama is indeed looking into this. Now, my understanding is that Zoom has contacted the Alabama district attorney and that they have said they'll be looking into this. And that is a place where I wouldn't want to be.
Well, and the ADA, which is the American Disability Association, they take things like this seriously. Like, people like kind of like smirk at them, but those people, when you're defrauding and if he is getting SSI and they find out you're doing things like this, they don't mess around. Like, you look at their track record, they take stuff like this seriously. So if they get a report in, they're looking at it.
Now, the other thing, and you kind of hinted at this, but I haven't gotten to that yet because I'm slow. But there's an allegation that the reason that this is set up, that there's an actual even worse reason that this is set up, and that would be that Tonka is on some sort of disability, like SSI disability, and he has to keep his income absurdly low. His reportable income has to be very low for him to go ahead and maintain his disability payments. Have you heard anything about that?
I've always believed that he's been on something. I've never really talked about it because, again, what would be the benefit of me saying those things? I always thought he was, because you heard about these injuries he had and you kind of just shrugged and go, okay, but then how are you still walking? How are you willing to fight people? So I always had the suspicion. But we were talking about this the other night. The problem is I asked Zoom this, is there a database? And I knew there was, but I wanted to ask him, and there's not. They keep all that kind of stuff private until a matter is raised.
Right. Yeah, because you can't have people's private information about any sort of medical issues being made public by a database. So no, there wouldn't be anything that would be easily accessible to someone. You'd have to that'd be between Tonka and whoever he's working with on Social Security.
It would explain a lot, though, why the channel would be in his grandma's name.
Right. It absolutely would. It absolutely would. So there's that. So that if that's the case, if he's defrauding Social Security disability, that's a felony. When you incur benefits for the purposes through fraudulent purposes, or you shelter income to maintain those benefits in some way that is not 100% legal, because there are ways to kind of shelter income in some sort of legal sense, depending on the type of income. But I mean, this isn't protected income, and running it through a nonprofit and then paying yourself with gift cards or whatever is definitely not an appropriate way to keep that off your reportable income. That would be that's a felony, and depending on where they are, you're talking 3 to 5 years in prison. They really hate when you take benefits, and they do prosecute on those. I can't stress that enough. They really hate when you do that, especially the South. Alabama is not like a blue state haven where they would not be interested in this. And Real Lady Rackets, yes, eventually I'll bring you some cold pizza. So let's see. I've got a bunch more chats here. Let's Okay. Ninja Breadman says, "Is there truth to the rumors that you will tag team with Legal Eagle to wrestle Bronx Blogger and Kevin Landau? Keep up the good work." I will not get in a ring with Bronx Blogger because I don't want to get AIDS. Donga's Mima says, "Nick, have you heard from my grandson? I'm worried about him. Can you summon him with a daddy? No! Also, his AdSense went through my nonprofit, Wheelie Warriors Inc." Andrew Casey says, "On the celebrity scale of Meg Gibson to Gilbert Gottfried, how pro-Israel is this law firm?" I'm not pro anything unless they pay me. Joey Bounds says, "Get Handsome Truth on your show." I don't know who Handsome Truth is, but I'm willing to talk to him. Have him DM me. Matt Field says, "Read your Stream Me donations. RBG dead." Yes. I will read the Stream Me donations too. Landon Mack and James says, "Guess favorite anime." So what is your favorite anime?
I would just have to say Digimon. I know that sounds stupid, but I enjoyed it for many years when I was young.
Okay. Well, that's offensive to me.
I'm sorry. I know, but it just is. It's
Yeah. Cars in Depth says, "Nick, what's with all the Jew haters in the chat?" I don't know. Do people hate Jews in the chat? If they do, well, that's their issue. Bagel Goose says, "Don't worry, YouTube. We love the country of Israel." And Mecha Brandon says, "How do you think Donga compares to Maddox in terms of embarrassment?" I
say worse.
do too. I don't think Maddox is embarrassed.
Well, and he still got somewhat of a career. I mean, might not be much, but it's something. Tonka has nothing.
Yeah, well, I don't know that we could call whatever Maddox has a career. To be brutally honest. So, yeah. Well, that's where we are so far.
Well, someone mentioned this is a good point. It's the notary stamp. You didn't touch on that, Nick.
Yeah, I
mean, because there's some. I mean, people are bringing it up, and to me, it's a valid point.
Yeah, let me take a look at an Alabama notary stamp.
I did too, and people were saying there's no numbers on it. When I looked it up, I saw plenty with numbers.
Let's see.
And he has access to it from what I understand, so he could have just gone in there and put a stamp on it.
Well, there's two types of notaries in Alabama. There's there's a stamp and then there's a seal. Let me pull these up. Okay, so here's I hate everything about this. Here we go. Here's a notary public seal from Alabama. Now, a seal is a machine that puts a literal imprint on the document. So we have a notary, and if you'll notice, there's not a number on the notary public seal in Alabama. Now there is on the notary public stamp. There is. Okay, that was lovely. Well, this is interesting. Maybe there's supposed to be a number.
And this is also the thing. Let's say his grandma did the notary. That's a conflict of interest.
Sort of. Let me talk about. You can actually notarize someone who's close to you. I'm not seeing the number on the stamp, although I did initially, so that's weird. Alabama notary stamp requirement. Let's try that. Notaries Public, Alabama. Notaries in the state of Alabama are appointed and commissioned by the probate judges of various counties in accordance with the code. To become a notary, individuals must meet all the state's qualifications, submit an application, qualify for a $25,000 bond. Probate judge sets appropriation rules and procedures to go along with the process by state law. Let's see. Okay. I'm looking at the. Here we go. The apostille may be affixed to documents bearing the official signature and seal of a currently commissioned Alabama notary public, probate judge, or the current Alabama state registrar. Please note all birth certificates and death certificates requiring an apostille must bear the signature of the current Alabama state registrar. Certifications. The certification may be affixed to documents bearing the official signature and seal of a currently commissioned Alabama probate judge. Okay, the type of authentication your Alabama document requires for foreign use is based on the county in which the document will be used. Country. If the country in which the document will be used is party to the Hague Convention, apostille is affixed to documents. If the country in which the document is to be used is not part of the Hague Convention, certification is affixed to documents. Please note there's a difference between members of the Hague Convention and parties to the Hague Convention. Oh, that's getting really... This is in-depth here. I'm trying to find out just if we have...
I mean, there's no, yeah, I was about to say I would look for a notarized document, but...
I'd have to ask the... newest registration regarding notaries public. All right, what do we got here? Hold an act. Give bond. Where's the stamp? This is the here, guys. I can let you see what I'm looking. This is the thrilling life of an. Is where we go through these documents. Oh, that was completely useless. Any person who, having been a notary, willfully performs or assumes the authority to perform a notarial act after his or her commission expires, with knowledge that the commission expired, or any person without a notary's commission assumes the authority and performs a notarial act, shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor. Doesn't say anything about the stamp requirement. The name, the office, and the state for which he or she was appointed. So it doesn't require a number. I think that's what we need to take away from this.
I was just looking it up as well. I couldn't find a number.
It doesn't require a number to be on there. Now, I haven't seen the document. And that, of course, is a mystery in all of this, is what is on the document? Is it a stamp? Is it a seal? There could be a commission number. There could not be. Is it his grandmother's notary? And then if it is, here's the question. The grandmother can notarize his signature. Let's be very clear about that. There's no problem. What a notary is a role that you take as appointed by an authority in your state to authenticate a signature on a document. So his grandmother would know if that was him signing the document. And if she notarized it and he signed his name, that's okay. Too many holes here for us to know precisely what happened because we don't know what name he signed and we don't know who stamped it. Now, if the stamp was forged, huge problem. It's a Class C misdemeanor, but if there's another crime involved, it can actually enhance the other crimes involved because you're basically defrauding someone by putting up a government authenticated seal. And the feds don't like that. The states don't like that. It's not a good thing. And especially like if you're using it to defraud, that's different. The statute mentioned if you assume the role of a notary, it's a Class C misdemeanor. That's if you're like just taking a stamp and notarizing someone else's thing and you're not actually authorized to do so. If you're taking a stamp or manufacturing a stamp or doing something like that fraudulently, we're talking about a big difference there. You're not assuming the role of a notary. You're using a notary stamp to forge a document. And that is a bad thing. Oh, I guess we left that off. We have forgery as one of the other causes of action for Tonka on as regards to Valor, because he either forged a signature, or he forged the notary stamp, or he forged his blood work, or he forged an ID, or any combination of those things. So that would actually, and that would be criminal forgery. So very, very much a mess there.
He's racking it up already.
Yeah, he's got let's see. Dumpster Fire says, this from Streamy, all Alabama notary stamps will at a minimum have a space for the notary details if it isn't a static part of the stamp. Yes, but in the statute, it doesn't require a number. So I don't want to misrepresent that a number is required if it's not, because the stamps don't seem to have numbers on them at all. So again, while that may be the case, that we would normally see a number there, if it's not required by the statute, it's a little harder to prosecute. There is, another possibility, though. We do have the grandmother, potentially, if the grandmother notarized it, if she notarized it and knew it was a false name, then that puts some serious liability on her. Okay, I wanted to get these Stream Me donations here, which I just found out the other day how to look at. Lorgar Aurelian says, I'm painting my word bearer's librarian for the Horus Heresy while listening. Good stuff, Lawman, but I have to know, do you accept the primordial truth? Of course I do. 5F6 Animal says, Chatty Daddy Rackets could wear a pink banana hammock if he wants. He's oozing testosterone and children from his loins. And James O. Shawnasty says, hey, buddy. Hey, back at you. Okay. So yeah, we do have some serious potential issues here. The notary stamp. The notary stamp's just hard to talk about it without seeing that document, without seeing what's on there. I would love to see what notary signed that document. But we have another issue with that, in that even if he got a notary stamp on it, he didn't file it, and he represented that he had submitted a name change form. Now, Zoom alleges he didn't file it. So to be very clear, we're at the mercy of Zoom's research, which is hard to verify. And again, whatever your opinions on Zoom and his tactics are, I must say, make sure any of this stuff that you look into, you do so in the most legal way possible. But if he were to notarize a document for the purpose of defrauding Valor by suggesting that the notary stamp on a document, on an application, was to represent that the application had been filed, that's a different animal. That is a forgery under the law. That would be fraud as well. And those would be actionable both civilly and criminally, because you're inducing them to perform on a contract and to undertake expenses based on your misrepresentation. So that would be horrifically illegal again.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he filed for it too. And from what I was understanding, I don't know if I'm 100%, but he only showed the application.
Yeah, right. That's what he showed the application, and I think the allegation is that he represented to Valor that he had submitted that application.
Yeah, but they would have, here's the issue. They would have given you some form of ID, not like an actual, but they would have shown something that you've submitted it.
Right. Yeah.
Other than the application, they would say, okay, here's your new, they would have given you something other than the application itself. So for him just to give the application, it kind of, in my opinion, I would say he didn't actually do it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't seem like he did. Without being able to know for certain, we have to leave this in alleged territory for defamation purposes. Let's see. So we've got that. We've covered the channel. We've covered the charity. We've covered the potential tax fraud. We've covered the potential Social Security disability fraud. We've covered the forged documents. We've covered the faulty signature, which, again, I think he misrepresented to me that it was a switch of first and middle names. But I think we understand, or I have heard rumors, and I tend to believe they're true, that that signature was not merely a switch of first and middle names, that it was a completely different name, and that they literally could not verify who he was. Tonka's in some trouble if people decide to pursue this.
Yeah, well, and then also with the failure, what kind of legal action could he even take? He would need some type of agreement for
Oh
the
yeah,
month.
we didn't even talk about failure. Let me see. So this would be interesting. Failure's not in Alabama, right?
No, he's in Florida.
Okay, so I think this would be under Alabama law. So oral contracts. I'm trying to see if Alabama recognizes verbal contracts. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, an oral contract in Alabama is generally legally enforceable. So here's the problem with Failure's claim. So failure, the claim Failure might have would be that Tonka was representing that he would be paying Failure a lot more than what he appears to be paying him. The problem is, what did Failure expect from Tonka? And what would be binding? I mean, Failure could certainly use any number of clips if they weren't all deleted conveniently to go ahead and show that Tonka said that the majority of money was going to him and all that stuff. And then all he would have to say is 51% of the money didn't come to me. That would be the claim. Whether or not it would hold up, I think it would largely depend on some conversations between Tonka and Failure. But Failure does, in theory, have a cause of action. Question for all of this: so many different people have causes of action against Tonka, and for significant amounts of money. Question is, does he have it? Does he have the money? If he doesn't have the money, then it's not worth these people going after him. It'd certainly be worth going after him on criminal charges, but whether he has the money to sustain these civil actions, unless you're just trying to get judgments and punish him, you could. And I mean, he sells used cars, right? So you could levy his income. I don't know if that's a joke or if that's true.
No, is from what? Yeah, they own a used car dealership, and my point is that if the LLC or the charity's tied to the channel, then that kind of makes her liable. And if it's their part owners in the dealership, there you go. There's a course of action.
Yeah, that would be a comical end to this story. I mean, for chat. For chat, it'd be a comical end. For grandma, it'd be a terrible end.
Oh, it's horrible.
But yeah, if they can tie that channel to the grandmother, to the LLC, or to the car dealership in any way, even used car dealerships, tons of assets there. Used car dealerships run high on the assets because they have to purchase the cars. The cars have value, and those cars can be taken. They can be sold at auction at really abysmal rates, and that money can be recovered in that way. So we'll have to see. I don't know. It's going to be up to the Alabama district attorney. It would be up to any federal prosecutor who might be interested in doing this. I would normally think that a federal prosecutor wouldn't care at all about going after this. However, there's a lot of talk about using the internet to launder money, to avoid taxes, to do stuff like that. There's the thought audit, of course, was big news before. So we could just go ahead and look at Tonka as an e-thought now, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's pretty valid.
Where's the premium snaps, Tonka?
We want to see the spokes on the wheelchair.
Yeah. Let's see. Bird Reich says, I'm an Alabama notary and I want to be free. Okay. Doge Meat says, can we get the rant from And Justice for All? No, because I don't know it. Landon McAjames says, why do they call him Donga? Did I miss something? I don't know. I don't actually know the answer to that. The Rationals donated and sent a YouTube link and asked if this was assault. Let me see if I can pull this up. Whoa, stupid Streamlabs. Screwing me over here. Okay. What? Oh my gosh. Guys, I am so bad at technology that it's pathetic. Okay, here we go. Let me see if this is assault. Okay. This is a marriage proposal gone horribly wrong. I don't know. Hold on. We can maybe look at that in just a minute. True American Hero says, Sweet Home Alabama where the skies are so blue. Okay. Keck7Go says, Lego sues YouTube blogger who reviews their products online after he criticized the quality of their 320 euro Bugatti Chiron set. Lego claims the suit is over his toy store's logo infringing copyright, even though it was designed to avoid that. Well, that'll be interesting. Matt Field says, failure can settle for a Mercedes and a Benz.
That's good.
That'd be good. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to close out the stream, I guess, with this video, and we'll see if this is an assault or not. Whoa, goodness gracious. Sorry. Stupid auto, whatchamacallit, maximum size windows on YouTube, or maximum size windows on Windows. Okay, here we go. You may want to mute your mic and listen on this one, because I don't have a way for you to hear it through whatchamacallit. Here we go.
Hi. Hello. Sorry to stop your shopping and your evening. Hello. I just have a very special message for a very special girl. This is where we met 3 months ago.
Oh my God, there are people looking.
This is where we first saw each other, and this is where I fell in love with you.
So cute.
And you're my absolute John, and you had me that day at hello, when you said hello to me. I mean, after I said hello, anyway, you're my Janu, you're my sweetie pie, you're my cutie pie, you're my absolute John, and... Anyway, keep going. You, Janu, you're my sweetie pie, you're my cutie pie, you're my Shonu, you're my everything, and I know you find this cheesy, but I want everyone to know you make me really happy. And I have a little poem for you, and I'd like everyone to hear this. When you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, and my heart ceases to beat, and there's nothing else that I seek except you. And I just have one question for you. Janu, Janu, please, I need to. You truly make me the happiest person on earth.
Oh, yeah. That's a durable ukulele.
Are you okay? I really thought it was sweet.
Is that an assault? No, it's self-defense. What are you talking about? I think that might have been fake. I think
this has to be.
The
train and the person mopping in the background.
You never know, though. You never know. Final super chat of the night is Tonka will be Big Chief Bubba's favorite squaw. Rude. Someone asked if we covered whether people who individually donated have recourse. They do. It's called a chargeback. And I hate to do that to Vamp, but if you donated under the guise that that you were giving money to to Tonka doing this, and he didn't do the thing that you're trying to do, your recourse as an individual would be a chargeback. Now, I think chargebacks have to be, you basically have to have given over $50 for it to start mattering. But that would be your recourse. As for the, there could be some misrepresentation there, a violation of the Alabama code, but that's not an individual cause of action for the donators. Donators have a simple remedy of chargeback. I mean, you in theory could take them to small claims court, but I think a chargeback would be much cheaper, more convenient, and would achieve the purpose you're looking for. But you'd have to make that decision for yourself on whether that's worth it to you. So, all right, guys. Visa allows chargebacks for 6 months for any reason, says Where Tiger Ray. So yeah, you just have to look into that. Look into if that's worth it to you. There are different chargeback rules, slightly different chargeback rules for debit cards and credit cards. So make sure you're clear on which one that is. Just look up what the chargeback rules are, or call your credit card company and ask them, and they'll tell you if you incur any liability. Some of them do require a $50 liability or something like that for the chargeback. So just make sure you're doing it right. You can always call your company and ask them the process, ask them what risk it would be to you. But if you donated for a purpose that you thought was not or that was not done, I mean, chargeback's your answer there. There you go. So, all right, guys, thank you for joining me. I will be working on a show. I don't know if I'll do it live or if I'll do a recording. I love doing live shows, so maybe we'll do that. But where I try and defend Tonka based on the information I have. So look for that, I guess, coming out soon, maybe in the next couple days, as I kind of organize my thoughts and get more information from other people. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. Subscription numbers have been very good over the past week, so I thank you for that if you're new to the channel. Yeah, just if there's anybody else you think might like this show, go ahead and share it to them. Thank you so much. Thanks, Loyal Logic, for coming on and helping out explain some stuff, and thanks for helping out Failure. He seems like a guy who's gotten caught up in something that's kind of way beyond what he expected. And,
he was just trying to be a good friend.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So, well, thanks, guys. I hope you have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow for something. I don't know if it's going to be Tonka or something else, but I will announce it on Twitter as always. And again, check out the merch shop, please. And if there's something you like, get it. If there's something you want to see that you would like, it's very easy for me to create different merch. Go ahead and send me a message on Twitter or something, and I will see if it's workable. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch. Have a good night. Peace.